Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the studies. Today, we are going to start a new chapter that is international organizations. Under this chapter, the main international organization, that is United Nations organizations, will be discussed. Uh, with the change in the world order, now as we know, the world has changed from being unipolar to uni- uh, from being bipolar to unipolar. Now there exists the hegemony of US, and in this under this hegemony of US, what new role is supposed to be played by the United Nations. This will be discussed under this chapter. And moreover, with the change in the world scenario, there is also need of change. There is also need to change the composition of United Nations organization, and this will also be discussed under this chapter. Besides other international organizations such as International Monetary Fund, World Bank will also be discussed in brief in this chapter. So, first of all, we will start with the logo of the UN. It is given in your textbook. In this logo, there is a world map, and then two olive branches are also there. These branches signifies, they symbolize world peace. So now we will proceed further. First of all, what we need to understand that international organizations such as UNO is not a form of world government. It's not a world government in the sense that it does not have any bounding authority over the member states. As we see in the case of national government, whatever the government passes, any law or any policy which is adopted by the government, that is binding on all the members of the country. But in the case of international organization, what we see that it does not have any binding authority over the member states. It only came into existence only because of the effort of the member states, and it depends on the desire of their member state to join it or not to join it, or and follow its rulings or not to follow it. So it is a totally type of a voluntary organization. And in this organization, this is the reason why there is many times there arise a question of its utility. What is the need of international organization, and especially in a world where only the hegemony of US is existing. So in that type of world order, what is the need of international organization? What we see that there are many examples when we saw that UN has become totally handicapped. It was not able to do anything substantive in maintaining world peace and order. One example is the attack which was done by Israel in April 2006 on the country Lebanon. It was The attack was done in order to curb the militant outfit Hezbollah, and under this purpose, actually Iraq targeted many residential area, and many civilians lost their lives. And the UN then met, and a resolution was passed against Israel in the month of August. So it took 3 months to pass a resolution by the United Nations. And then uh, in spite of the resolution, the Iraq and the Israel withdrew its army from Lebanon in the month of October. So it shows that the UN is not working efficiently. It does not have any real powers. Still, what we can see that there are many mm, mm, arguments can be presented in favor of international organization. What we see, we can quote the words of the UN Second Secretary General Dag Hammarskjöld. What he said that United Nation. I am reading the text which is given in your book. It is the statement of Dag Hammarskjöld. He says that the United Nation was not created to take humanity to heaven, but to save it from hell. So, what is the purpose of UN? The UN is not there. Ki if UN is there, then there will be no disputes, there will be no war-like situation. But UN will help us from going into the worst situation. So it's a work. It is there to save us from hell. So in this way, we can see its relevance. Then it is also alleged that these international organization like UN is just a talking shop where representatives of various countries, leaders of various countries come and talk, and these talks are meaningless. But it is alleged, but we cannot say that these talks are meaningless, as we can see what Churchill said. It was really beautiful words. In beautiful words, he explained that Georgia is better than war. Means it is better to have talks and then resolve the matters and resolve the disputes instead of going to war. Because in war there will be loss of lives, there will be loss of property. So this international organizations many times it save us from going to the war. Now I'm going to read the statement which was uh, said by Sasi Thirur, who was the former UN Under Secretary General for Communications and Public Information. What he said is, isn't it better to have one place where all countries in the world can get together, bore each other sometimes with their words rather than bore holes into each other on the battlefield? So we can say that the UN is providing a platform where people, where representative of various countries can negotiate, they can share their ideas regarding a matter, they can exchange their views, they can made allegation on each other, and in this way they can find a solution. Instead of going to war, they can find a solution through these talks, and in this way this is the utility of international organization like UN. So these are the important things. These are the relevance. These are the reasons why we need an international organizations. It is very much not natural for the countries to have disputes. But what is important that these disputes should be resolved through negotiations. These disputes should not take the form of war. So yeah, and we can experience this that most of the conflicts and differences are resolved through talks only. Without going to war, the world was successful in resolving many conflicts. So international organizations are really helpful in this regard, and always remember this, that it is not a super state who has authority, who has binding authority over its members. It is created only by the states, and it can help members to resolve their problems peacefully. Okay. Now another thing which is which has become very important nowadays, the role played by UN has now changed. The political role, the role played by UN in the sphere of political life is important, as it provides a platform, and it gives opportunity for a debate and discussion. That is its relevance in political terms. But what we find that in today's world, the role played by UN has increased in the economic and cultural sphere of life, and environmental also. What we see that there are situations when there are many issues which a single country is not able to control that issue. For example, disease are such that it can only be eradicated if all the member countries of the world cooperate with each other. It may be a disease is there in a country and that country is successful in eradicating that disease. But what happen if other countries are not cooperating with each other? Then what happen in the future? There will be very much possibility of regenerating of that disease in that country, because there is lack of cooperation between the countries. So in order to curb the disease, there is need of international cooperation. What we are experiencing right now, the COVID, the disease caused by coronavirus, we need to fight this disease with the cooperation of the whole world. The cooperation among the countries are required in order to fight the disease. A country alone cannot fight this disease. And moreover, there are atmospheric issues also, such as global warming is one of the most important challenges the human being is facing at present. And there is a danger that the sea level may increase so much that it will submerge many coastal areas of the world. So in this case, what happen if a country will make effort on its own? It may effort a lot on its own, and it can achieve success also. But that success will not be complete unless and until all the countries cooperate with each other, because these issues are global. It is not the issue cannot be contained through a boundary. It is such problem which affects the whole world in an equal manner, and no world can be isolated can solve this problem in isolation. So what is the need? The need is to have cooperation among the countries. And what is the problem? The problem is key. All the countries recognize the need for cooperation. They know that there is need to cooperate. There are issues, there are problems which can be solved only through cooperation. But what actually where problem comes the problem comes when we actually want to cooperate, because they don't understand how to cooperate, how to share the cost of cooperating. We are going to cooperate with each other, and in that we have to bear some cost, and how to share this cost, how to make sure that the benefits of cooperating are justly divided. All the countries who are cooperating on any particular issue, they will be benefited in an equal manner. How to ensure that others do not break their end of the bargain and cheat on the agreement? It may happen that all the countries are cooperating on any particular issue, and a particular country starts cheating on that agreement. Then what will happen? So this kind of apprehensions are there in the mind of countries, in the mind of political leaders, and that becomes an obstruction in the path of cooperation. So in this regard, we find there is role of international organization, because it provides a mechanism to cooperate. How to make countries cooperate, how to practically implement this cooperation. All this is done by the international organizations like UN. When an international and when an agreement is reached through the UN, then member state will be more confident that cost will be shared properly, and the benefits of the agreement will be shared equally among the member countries. And if a member joins the agreement, then it will have to honor the terms and condition of the agreement. So what we find that in present scenario, the role of the UN is has shifted from political to environmental and economic concern. So in this scenario, we find many answers to many new questions, such as in the unipolar world, UN pose a threat to the US, or can it take such a binding decision, such decisions which can be binding for the US also? So, in the following discussions, we will discuss all these matters. Now we will meet in the tomorrow class. Okay.